one of the big sevens is the collaboration part. So many times I remember my first life, I'll call it, I had bosses, and I learned growing Pajama Program, the difference between being a boss, which I realized I did not want to be, and being a leader, which is the one that inspires more. I wanted to be that person because I wanted people on my team who wanted to be there, who trusted me, who loved the vision, who felt that they had something to give to it, to contribute. And, we went through losses, financial things, ups and downs, everyone does. But if you invite collaboration, you don't have to figure it out alone. You don't have to cut that many people. You never know where ideas come from. And when you have that investment by your staff, that loyalty, ideas flow, and it's amazing. It's amazing what we can do together.
Your business depends on relationships with customers, relationships with employees, and relationships with stakeholders. What do they all have in common? They're all human. Because no matter if your business is B2B or B2C, it's really H to H, human to human. Welcome to the Human Connection Podcast. I'm your host, Karl Pontau. Each week, I'll bring you stories, insights, and practical advice from experts that you can apply to your growing company and daily life. This week, I'm excited to connect with Genevieve Piturro. From a pivotal moment in a homeless shelter to appearing on Oprah, Genevieve's story is absolutely captivating. She is the founder of Pajama Program, which has delivered an incredible 8 million pajamas and books to children in need. After transforming her own life from TV executive to nonprofit founder, Genevieve now helps others find their purpose through speaking, writing, and teaching. She is the author of the bestseller Purpose, Passion, and Pajamas, and has shared her inspiring story and journey everywhere from Good Morning America to CNN. Congrats on your best-selling book, and welcome to the Human Connection Podcast.
Thank you, Karl. Thank you so much.
So I love the name of your book, Purpose, Passion, and Pajamas. And so what is the role of purpose in building relationships between businesses and customers?
Oh, that's a great question. And it's all about your heart voice. That's where you find your purpose. That's where you discover it. And sometimes it finds you, but that's where it lives in your heart, and your heart voice speaks up. And sometimes you have to ask for it. And in my case, it found me, and I wasn't even looking for it. I just knew that something was missing. And that's where we live, right there.
So explain more what the heart voice is and how it speaks out through people and businesses and how it makes such a big difference.
Well, I think for me, the specific was I was a TV executive for 12 years, running around crazy, hectic, but thrilling life in New York City. I always wanted that life. But 12 years in, single, living in New York City, I heard a voice ask me, if this is the next 30 years of your life, is this enough? And I realized soon that was my heart voice speaking up. That was a truth. That was something in me that's in everyone. You call it your higher self, you can call it your conscious, you could call it, somebody inside that's been knocking until, you listen. But we all have that voice that checks us in the stillness, in the moments. And once I started listening to that heart voice, that was the first one. And that's when something led me to remember an episode on a news show where they were taking children out of a home that was dangerous to a shelter. And I started going to the shelter, getting close to those children, met several of them, read stories every night, and I brought pajamas because they were sleeping in their clothes. And one little girl was so afraid to take anything from me. And I tried to gently urge her to take the pajamas. And she asked me, what are pajamas? And my heart voice piped up loud and clear. You got to do this. This is yours to do. What? Give pajamas to these children. But that's what I had to do. We all have that voice. And if we share what our heart voice is saying, we realize that the emotion that the world literally runs on, right? We're all making decisions on emotion.
Mhm.
It resonates with other people. People heard this story, their heart piped up too. We can help. We can help. And if you have that stillness and you trust that voice, you will find what I say are your people who resonate with you, and you can build incredible things that transform people.
Yeah, that's a very inspiring story. I love that, and I just that whole what is pajamas is just such a gut punch for a lot of us that it's such a normal thing, but there are a lot of people that don't have a lot of kids that don't have the access to something as simple as pajamas, and so I can see how that voice, that inner voice of this is what your the impact you want to have on the world. I think that is something that a lot of, especially like startup founders, can relate to, because you don't start a company because you fancy it, or it's like just like a whim. There has to be an inner driving purpose behind a problem you're trying to solve. So you start a business, but along the way, when you get so focused on all the things it takes to get a business going, they stop listening to that initial passion, that initial, as you call, heart voice that got them into the business in the first place, that gives them the drive to keep going over all the different hurdles. And so along the way, when that gets lost, you miss out on so much of what makes the business unique and special, and what's going to attract, like you said, there's the people that share that vision, that share that same voice. And if you're trying to grow and scale and bring in the right employees and find the best clients, reigniting or amplifying that heart voice again seems like the best way to stand out and reach the people that you really want to connect with and that want to connect with you.
Right. And I learned, and I read this a long time ago, but it kept popping up. It kept popping up. You know, the bottom line for what I was doing, and I think all leaders are coming to the same thing. It's about love for the work you do, love for the people you work with, love for the people you serve. And when you think about the human connection, you think there are 7 things that we all need, whether it's work or play, right? It's to feel passion, to be recognized, to communicate, to collaborate, to inspire, and to be inspired. And leaders are responsible for inspiring us, to be part of a team and to realize success, not just for you, but for the people around you, the people you work with. And when we remember those 7 things, that's love for work. It's love for our leader, love for our staffs, love for the people we serve.
And I think a lot of those 7 things, again, also get pushed to the wayside in the focus on kind of companies trying to cut corners and get to the growth and the sales and all like the metrics that they've been so focused on. And they, in that rush to success, quote unquote success, they end up undercutting their long-term potential, because if you aren't providing those 7 things to your customers or to your team, eventually the foundation of your business is going to crumble, because your business doesn't exist without those people, and those people need those 7 things. And so if you want to rebuild or maintain growth and just or be in business for long term, you have to reconnect with people on those 7 things.
Yes. And one of the big 7s is the collaboration part. You know, so many times I remember my first life, I'll call it, I had bosses, and I learned growing Pajama Program, the difference between being a boss, which I realized I did not want to be, and being a leader, which is the one that inspires more. I wanted to be that person because I wanted people on my team who wanted to be there, who trusted me, who loved the vision, who felt that they had something to give to it, to contribute. And, we went through losses, financial things, ups and downs, everyone does. But if you invite collaboration, you don't have to figure it out alone. You don't have to cut that many people. You never know where ideas come from. And when you have that investment by your staff, that loyalty, ideas flow, and it's amazing. It's amazing what we can do together.
Yeah, so you mentioned that the boss is not the same as leader, and inviting people to collaborate is one of those key things that you're looking to listen to other people. I think that's such a key point. And it reminds me of what one of the previous guests I had on the show here was talking about, how the reason why she left a job was because there was no communication, there was no back and forth, and it really was disheartening for her. And I think, so when you're working on differentiating leaders from bosses, what are some other things that people can do besides inviting collaboration that can make them more of a leader and less of a boss or a manager?
Right. Well, back when we had bosses, everyone used to say, look at the power of one person, one idea. And 25 years ago, people would say that to me. So I met the little girl and I had that inner voice tell me, you've got to give them pajamas. It's not about the pajamas, it's about the love, and that's what they're missing. And there's a hole in their hearts, and we have holes in our hearts too often. And we felt her. And I think when finally, after a number of people said, oh, look at the power of one, part of me learning the difference between boss and leader was I said automatically, it's not the power of one that changes things. It's the power of one another that moves mountains and moves people. And I think that was a huge lesson for me, because that was such a common phrase back years ago, more now, look at the power of one. But when we realize at the start, okay, we have this vision, we're passionate about it, we know it's going to transform, it's going to contribute good to humanity, we need to right away take it from it's my idea to how can we do this? How can we do this together? Because people will be moved when you have this combined passion and this energy coming, toward everyone with, good energy coming. It's the power of one another that we have to grab onto from day one.
Yeah, I love that addition to from the power of one to the power of one another. It's a very yes and response to that idea that instead of shutting it down, it's like, no, there's actually more to it. And I love that addendum has so much power. I'd imagine that a lot of bosses or managers that hear this and go, okay, what are some like they want to make this step, or what are some like the things that can keep them from being able to make that transition? And how do you work to help get people past some of those challenges?
Right. Talk less, listen more. I think back when I was, working for bosses, we sat at the table, the boss spoke, gave everybody an assignment. Yes, sir, and you leave. Yes, ma'am, and you leave. Now, I think that as a leader, I want to know, what do you think? I sit at that table and I would speak very little and just say, okay, we're going to use one of everyone's ideas here. Let's go around the table. And what's wrong with this, and what's good with this, and what did I do wrong, and what can we do better? Ask questions and listen.
That's excellent advice. And I think it's just a matter of making it a habit from the soon to be leader's perspective of before if they're so used to giving decrees and orders and expecting people just to follow them, it really has to start from them and realizing that if they want to get what they want, they need to listen more and talk less and be open to recognizing other people's ideas and not needing to be the one that comes up with all the solutions, that they need to be the one that asks the right questions.
Yeah, one of the 4 truths to be a voice that moves the world is to live with integrity outside of yourself. It's not about you. It's about, what can I do? What can I do for you? Sitting at this table, in my organization? What can we collectively do for everyone outside? So it's not, what are you going to do for me? It's what am I going to do for you? And what are we going to do for them?
I love that distinction. You said that's one of the four pillars. What are the other three?
The first one is listen to your heart voice. Your heart voice knows what's going to move the world. So listen to your heart voice. The second is the human connection, as we're talking about, is our secret weapon, is our greatest tool. Share, talk, ask, invite, collaborate, communicate, all of that, always. And I always say face-to-face is better. And thank goodness, I think we're getting back to more of that face-to-face. The third one is live with integrity outside of yourself. And the fourth one, what I said before about the power of one another. That's what it takes to move mountains and moves people.
And I think I can see how they all work together. They're all, you can't just pick one and only focus on that. You need all four to really get the sort of transformation in an organization. And I think it's something that it can be hard to break the old habits that a lot of businesses have built. But once you start building momentum and start seeing the change it has in then the employee performance and the customer experience, and through those things, the business's performance and growth, and how much more repeat business and organic like marketing and people word of mouth and just the community you build around the brand that just wasn't there before because everything was so transactional and one direction. I think it's a self-reinforcing practice that once you get it going, just has so much more return on investment than people initially think it will. And if they're just willing to kind of make that first difficult push from the leadership position to demonstrate the correct behavior, then the company is going to be in a whole new direction, in the right direction, and it's going to have amazing results.
I agree. I think we're bringing back heart.
Yeah, it's so if people wanted to, you have a lot of books out. Is there, if it's like a book, one of your first books you can recommend people if they're wanting to learn more about this sort of stuff, and I'll have links to all this in the show notes. Was there a particular like book you've written that I think for like a business leader that wants to learn more about this stuff and take it to practice? What's a good book they can read?
Well, if they read mine, Purpose, Passion, and Pajamas, at the end of each chapter, there is a series of heart of the matter lessons. And it's about how each chapter came to fruition and moved us forward. So there are a lot of just basic truths that I think along the way we forgot and we're coming back to. And thankful every day that I learned them through so many others who helped me become the leader that I wanted to be and not the boss.
And I think it's those that going back to the human connection and slowing down in a way that is going to actually help a lot of businesses accelerate their growth because they've been pushing so hard and trying to cut so many corners that they've lost the human connection part that is so crucial. And when the leadership team starts to rebuild those, and it's just going to ripple out through the employees and to the customers and then to the community, and start again, like you mentioned, kind of to sum this up, you're starting by listening to the heart voice that initially, if you're the founder of the company or you're the CEO, like you have some sort of connection to the purpose of the business beyond just turning a profit. And that purpose is going to be what moves people to follow and to work harder and to buy. And I think that's such a powerful message of and a way from companies to differentiate themselves in today's market where there's so much that is transactional and not speaking to the 7 needs that people have to feel fulfilled.
Right. And I think it's wonderful when you can make millions of dollars and have that vision and live with integrity outside yourself and have people who believe in your vision and people who feel they can offer ideas. And the whole package can be billions of dollars in profit. And that's beautiful. That's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I think that people think that you can have one or the other, but not both. And it's absolutely possible to have amazing financial success and be a positive influence on the society and the world and humanity. It's not this either or dichotomy that so many people mistakenly think it is. Well, thank you so much for connecting with me today, Genevieve. If you enjoyed this episode of the Human Connection podcast, please leave a review, and share it. If you'd like to connect with myself or Genevieve, please check out the links in the show notes. And remember, no matter if your business is B2B or B2C, it's really H to H, human to human. Happy connecting.